Inaz and the Two Unmarriageable Lovers. A novel by Dr. A. Ahmed. This story is narrated in 4 books. Book 1. Copyrights. All rights are reserved. No part of this book may be reproduced, stored in a retrieval system, or transmitted in any form or by any means without the prior written permission of the author, except by a reviewer who may quote brief passages in a review to be printed in a newspaper, magazine, school journal, or university article. This novel is a work of fiction, but the entire story is based on the real love story of 2 unmarriageable lovers. Therefore, all names, characters, places, and incidents are either the product of the author's imagination or are used fictitiously. Any resemblance to actual persons, living or dead, events, or locales is entirely coincidental. Chapter 32. The New Intimate Lovers. The first step that the beautiful Ethiopian Joseph took towards emancipating the mind of his lovely Sudanese girlfriend Inaz, he convinced her to divorce her abusive and gay husband Osama Hashim Sulla, who beaten and imprisoned her and turned her into an unpaid prostitute through his gambling addiction. Joseph believed everything Inaz told him about her evil Arab spouse. Inaz has never heard before that a Muslim wife can divorce her husband. She was taught from an early age the power and ability to divorce are given by Islam to the husband. She heard time and again in her Muslim society, Ismat al-Talaq fi yad al-Rajal, which means the right to divorce the wife is in the hand of the husband. He can just say to his wife verbally, "You are divorced," and she is divorced instantly. He does not need a judge or witness to dissolve his marriage contract. He also does not need to give any reason for divorcing his wife. On the contrary, the wife can divorce her husband only through the judge of the Sharia court, and that if she has a lawful reason to do so. Reasons such as desertion for years or being physically incapable of having sex with his wife, or he has become so poor that he cannot buy clothes for her to cover her nakedness. Physical abuses such as beating and raping are not sufficient grounds for the wife to obtain a divorce. Although her Sudanese husband is gay and he had his Saudi boyfriend who practiced sodomy in front of her, and he did not sleep with her, still, as a woman, she could not prove her claims. As we have seen, her complaint was used against her and almost got her killed through stoning in the kingdom of Tartarus, where Satan has his seat and rules and controls the mind of each and every human being. Anyway, when Inaz accepted the wise advice of her Ethiopian lover, he took her to the Bandara court and helped her to fill the necessary forms. The Indian court does not require the spouse to give a reason for applying for a divorce. Nevertheless, Inaz gave many reasons for divorcing her Sudanese husband. She then gave the address of her husband Osama in Riyadh City, in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. After a couple of weeks, the terribly abused Sudanese wife Inaz has been divorced from her husband and become a free girl again. The Bombay court issued 2 divorce certificates. One is given to Inaz Ahmed Sulla and the other one is mailed to her former husband Osama Hashim Sulla. After getting her freed from the bondage of her evil former spouse, Joseph began to prepare her for the fight against her evil countrymen and women who masqueraded themselves as guardian angels of morality. To be ready to stand up for her rights and fight against those Muslim terrorists who disguised themselves as foreign students and righteous police of Allah. Those evil Sudanese who claimed to be university students and wanted to obtain knowledge to enable them to enlighten others, when in reality they are full of darkness and ignorance. 7 weeks have passed by and not a single Sudanese student has spotted the enlightened and awakened beautiful Sudanese girl Inaz and her handsome Ethiopian lover Joseph Abraha, while the 2 lovers are sitting by the seashore and engrossed in heart-to-heart talk. They hugged and kissed each other in public by the seashore many times, and no one from her country has seen them. By this time, Inaz has truly dived in love with her new sage. She has never loved a mortal being like the way she is now loving her beautiful Joseph. Whenever she sits beside him, she feels an awesome feeling that no human language can describe. Her heart begins to beat, and her spirit is filled with awe, an emotion variously combining dread, veneration, and wonder that is inspired by the sacred and sublime. There is an overwhelming feeling of reverence and intensive admiration, which is produced by his grand, sublime, and extremely beautiful form. She feels as if she is not sitting beside a human, but he is a divine being or an angelic creature. He is beautiful beyond description and too marvelous for words. Everything he says or does get her excited and extremely overjoyed. When he is not with her, she misses him so much. Her former African lover Tariq was called by everyone the ugly black Sudanese crow, and her new Ethiopian lover is called by her country people the beautiful white Indian peacock. Her new lover is also called Sayyidina Yusuf al-Jamil, or our lovely Prophet Joseph. In that wonderful friendship, the lovely girl Inaz one day said to her handsome boyfriend Joseph, "I wish we are living on a faraway planet in another galaxy far from our Milky Way and planet Earth. An island that is not inhabited by anyone except us and us alone. Why can we not live together in this beautiful city of Bombay?" Inaz has become shocked and extremely frightened when her handsome lover Joseph has spoken those words. How can we even think of this when we are neither lovers nor a husband and his wife? Inaz, I want you to stop deceiving yourself. I want you to be true to your feelings and passions. I know you love me, and you know that I love you too. How can you say we are not lovers after we have both fallen in love with each other? But Joseph, you are a Christian boy, and I am a Muslim girl. So, we are like two parallel lines that we can never intersect. We are human beings before we can say you are a Muslim girl and I am a Christian boy. Did you choose to be a Muslim when you were born, or did I choose which religion to follow when my mother gave birth to me? Of course not. Inaz responded, and before he can speak, she added, "But you are an Ethiopian boy, and I am a Sudanese girl. Did we choose our places of birth? Joseph, let us just be good friends. As I told you from the beginning, I hate the word love. God is love. It means you hate God." No, I don't hate God. Please don't say that again. Inaz, you're an overly sweet girl. But unfortunately, you're a very lonely girl and hated by those people who are supposed to love you and protect you. Why don't you make your own decisions in life and stop fearing people? I know you love me, but the fear of people is still crippling you. I promise you that I will never allow anybody to hurt you. Inaz does not know what to say or what to do. She needs at this moment someone other than herself to come out of her being and make her decision. She needs God, and she needs him so badly. But was it not God who created those unfair laws that embodied in the Sharia that governed her life from childhood? From childhood, she was told that as a woman God created her deficient in religion and intellect. God put her under the despotic, dictatorial, and absolute authority of the man. Man, as her father, has to decide for her who she must marry and when to marry. Man, as her husband, has to decide when she can go out, and without him, she cannot step out of his house because she a wara, and he has to tell her what to eat and what dress to put on. Man, as her father, has the divine right to beat her when she does something he considers to be wrong, and man, as her husband, has the power to rape her if she refuses his sexual advances. It was the man who sold her in marriage to another man without her consent. And that husband sold her to other men who raped her in his apartment and with his knowledge, and no one of them got punished by the Sharia law for the evils they did to her. When she rebelled against the authority of her father, he tried twice to end her life in an honor killing. And when she ran away from her abusive husband, the law punished her instead of him. While Inaz is deeply engrossed in her sad life and abusive past married life, she felt the hands of her new boyfriend Joseph surrounded her and slowly drew her to his chest. She responded and hugged him so tightly as if she scared he might suddenly disappear and leave her all alone in that raging sea of gross hatred of her people. Then, her handsome lover lifted her face up and looked into her beautiful eyes. Her eyes are full of innocence and intoxicated with the wine of love. Her dry lips are thirsty for his kiss. He knows he has starved them for a long time, and it is time to feed them from the fountain of his deep love. His lips touched her lips and began to kiss them. She responded to his tender kisses and allowed her tongue to slide between his lips. Then the two intimate friends soared into the sky of a rapture of pleasure and joy of inseparable lovers. Chapter 33. She called a spade a spade. 2 months went by, and no one among the Sudanese foreign students in Bombay could be able to discover the so-called new abominable deed of the most hated and persecuted girl Inaz Ahmed Silla. No one of them has seen her while she is sitting by the seashore, kissing and hugging the most beautiful boy they had ever seen, and called him the beautiful white Indian peacock and Sayyidina Yusuf. As if the two intimate lovers are living on an island not inhabited by human beings except them. By now, the love affair between the beautiful Sudanese girl Inaz and her handsome Ethiopian boyfriend Joseph has reached its peak. Now the two beautiful lovers began to talk about taking the final step in their romantic union. It is the beautiful Ethiopian boyfriend Joseph who came up with the idea of getting married and living together as a husband and a wife. But his beloved Sudanese girlfriend Inaz strongly contested his idea and rejected his marriage proposal. She told him time and again that they are unmarriageable lovers. Joseph said to his beloved Inaz, "There is no such thing called there are unmarriageable lovers." He also said to her, "We are living in a time even male lovers and female lovers are allowed to get married to each other." He then challenged her to show him the word, unmarriageable lovers, in any English dictionary. In other words, Joseph demanded to know, in which book in the entire world it is written that two adult lovers who are mentally matured are not eligible or suitable for marriage. Even so, his Muslim girlfriend said she could show him in her holy Quran and the hadiths of her infallible Prophet Muhammad that a Muslim woman is not allowed to marry a non-Muslim man. So, the Christian lover understood his next task is to free his beloved Muslim girlfriend from the shackles of her misogynistic religion, which is the cause of all her suffering, abuses, and persecutions. The smart Ethiopian boy decided to achieve that difficult goal in two ways. He understood that a girl who was born and brought up in such a strict religious society as Sudan cannot give up her Islamic faith unless she can find a better religion to replace it. Therefore, he decided to empty her religious mind by degrees and likewise refill it bit by bit with a new faith. In plain words, he wants to replace gradually Islam with Christianity. Initially, he decided to free her from the misogynistic teachings of the alleged prophet of God Muhammad and introduce her to the loving teachings of Jesus Christ. Joseph is aware of the sensitivity of religious arguments. He knows every human being believes that his or her religion is the only true religion, and other faiths are false religions. At first, he focused on her past life. He wants to assist his Muslim girlfriend to discover by herself the driving force behind her abuses and persecutions. What are the underlying factors that gave her abusers and persecutors the right to do what they had done to her without any one of them got punished by the Sharia law in Saudi Arabia or the Sudanese society in Khartoum? Inaz, like any other abused Muslim woman, is putting the blame on her people. She believes that Islam is a peaceful religion and placed the woman in the best possible social status. It is the Islamic terrorist groups and the fanatic Muslim scholars who hijacked the peaceful gospel of the Prophet Muhammad and the Quran and misinterpreted the loving teachings of his hadiths and the holy book of Allah. No matter how many times he tried, the Christian boyfriend could not succeed in convincing his Muslim girlfriend that the blame should not be directed only towards her abusers and persecutors, but also towards what made them do to her what they did. Then Joseph abandoned his method and adopted a new one. He simply began to tell her about the loving teachings of Jesus Christ. Instead of his beloved Muslim girlfriend resisting and refusing to hear him, her Christian lover Joseph found in Inaz attentive ears to hear him. She is thrilled to hear the words of Jesus, which he spoke on the Sermon on the Mountain. In a short time, her spirit is deeply immersed in the peaceful gospel of Christ. Therefore, the Muslim girlfriend said to her Christian lover that she had never heard those loving and peaceful teachings of Jesus before. She wondered as to why in her Muslim society no one had taught her those doctrines. She believes that Muslim children must be taught those peaceful and loving teachings in their homes and schools. Now, she strongly believes each and every Muslim should be taught, love your enemies, bless them that curse you, do good to them that hate you, and pray for them which despitefully use you and persecute you. Likewise, Inaz now believes Muslims should be told marriage must be between one man and one woman, and not between one male and 4 females. She understood that polygamy is meant to satisfy the lust of the Muslim man. It gives the polygamist man the power to use, abuse, and deprive the Muslim woman of her right as an equal life partner. As she was taught that no man will agree to share his wife with another man, likewise no Muslim wife will agree to share her husband with another woman. Therefore, in Muslim society, the first wife calls the second rival wife al-Dora, or the female evildoer. So, both polygamy and polyandry are evil and wrong, and none of them can be from the loving and just God. Therefore, she understood that the source of the teaching of polygamy is the mind of a selfish and evil Arab man who falsely claimed to have been sent by God as a mercy to mankind. And also, the religiously enlightened and awakened Muslim girl understood that marriage has to be between two grown-up adults and not one grown-up man and an underage female child. Here Naz once again has pointed her fingers of accusation at her holy prophet Muhammad. She was taught in school that her prophet Muhammad was 54-year-old when he married the child bride, Aisha. And she was a 6-year-old girl when he married her, and he had sexual intercourse with her when she turned 9. At that time, she did not see it as child abuse and rape. This because she was made to believe from childhood that her prophet Muhammad is an infallible human being. But now, the Christian boyfriend has opened the eyes of his Muslim girlfriend and made her see it as a terrible abuse of an innocent female child by an evil grown-up man. Therefore, the most hated and terribly abused Sudanese girl Anaz now can see how sinful and evil her prophet Muhammad was. After she has become enlightened and emboldened by her Christian lover Joseph, the Muslim girl Anaz has openly disapproved of the marriage of Muhammad and Aisha and considered it rape and abuse of a minor girl by an Arab pedophile. Joseph is shocked when his beloved girlfriend boldly called her prophet a child abuser and rapist. Emboldened by her daring words, her lover began to tell her in plain language how evil Islam is. He told her how Islam was forced by the sword on the pagan Arabs of the Arabian Peninsula and other countries. How many atrocities the early Mujahideen committed against those people who used to follow different religions. In the name of their holy war of jihad, they invaded many countries, murdered millions of non-Muslims, raped their women as war captives, enslaved their women and children, and sold them as slaves, robbed their wealth and properties, and occupied their lands. Although Anaz learned all those atrocities at the school, at that time she was made to believe those bloody wars of invasions were just and holy wars commanded by Allah and His infallible prophet Muhammad. But today she has been compelled to call a spade a spade. She is made to call evil by its proper name. Nonetheless, before her Christian boyfriend has opened her eyes on this important day, the Muslim girl used to call evil good, rape of a female child halal marriage, raping of female captives as a permissible act that ordained by Allah and His Prophet, and polygamy which allows the man to commit adultery with 4 women at the same time as right deed granted by God to His favorite creature, the human male. Finally, Anaz began to call a spade a spade. From this day and onwards, the spiritually awakened Muslim girl has decided not to call anything by any other name than its real name. Now her mind is freed from the evil teachings of Muhammad and is filled by the peaceful teachings of Christ. As a consequence of the mental emancipation and spiritual awakening, the handsome Ethiopian lover Joseph Abraha took the final step and invited his freed, beautiful Muslim girlfriend Anaz Ahmed Sulla to forsake Islam and embrace Christianity. He knows in his heart that she has already forsaken the Islamic religion and converted to his Christian faith in her mind and heart. Therefore, she has not argued and resisted when he asked her to do so. He is the one who led her to Christ. So, the Ethiopian boyfriend has not only cared about the physical welfare of his beloved Sudanese girlfriend, but he cares about the salvation of her spirit as well. After her conversion, he invited her to join him in his church. Without hesitation or fear of anyone, the converted Muslim girl Anaz has gladly accepted the invitation and went with her lover to a Sunday service in a church in the Bandra area. Unfortunately, it is in the church that her conversion from Islam to Christianity has been leaked out and reached the ears of the Sudanese Muslim student terrorists. In the church, there is a nominal Christian Sudanese girl known as Mary Akal who has a Sudanese Muslim boyfriend who is called Khalid Alajabo. Those two friends are living together and having sex without the marriage bond. That adulterous Christian girl saw the apostate Muslim Sudanese girl Inaz Ahmed Silla and her beautiful Christian Ethiopian lover, Joseph Abraha, in the church, and she immediately used her cell phone and conveyed the unbelievable news to her adulterous Muslim sex partner Khalid. When that Khalid has come running to the international students' hostel and dropped his bombshell about the so-called abominable apostasy of the most hated Sudanese girl in the world, the Sudanese Muslim students have turned the peaceful city of Bombay into a war zone. Chapter 34. The Cowardly Terrorist Attack. The first one who is attacked and badly battered is the beautiful Ethiopian Joseph Abraha, who dared to take a Sudanese Muslim girl to his church. When he is questioned by some of those righteous policemen of Allah, the brave Joseph has not only admitted that he took the infamous Sudanese girl to his church, but confessed his love with her, and that the two are already engaged, and very soon they will be united together in a holy Christian matrimonial everlasting relationship. He also informed those Sudanese student terrorists that his beloved and fiancée Inaz had forsaken Islam and embraced Christianity, by saying that the courageous Joseph added insult to injury. On hearing the incredible news, the so-called lions of jihad flew into a religious frenzy and became extremely mad. At that critical moment, they had forgotten that they were in the cafeteria and viciously attacked Joseph. They are 5 bearded Sudanese terrorist students. Luckily, a Kenyan foreign student reacted quickly and dialed the number of the anti-terrorist department at the Bombay Criminal Investigation, CID. That police number has been displayed in every place of the 14th-floor building of the International Students' Hostel. The anti-terrorist police of Bombay knew there are terrorist activities going on in that international hostel. Some foreign Muslim terrorist students had traveled many times to Kashmir province and participated in the jihad war of the Indian and Pakistani Muslim terrorists against the Indian army. Some of them died as martyrs over there, and their terrorist brothers and sisters believe each one of them is now in paradise and fucking day and night the pussies of his 72 beautiful virgin houris. Fortunately, the anti-terrorist police reached in time and snatched the life of the beautiful Joseph from the jaws of those ravenous jungle beasts. All 5 voracious lions of jihad have been hammered by the cops and subdued by big batons, and then all tied together with ropes and dragged as dangerous Muslim terrorists or beasts of the jungle and taken to the Bombay dungeon where they belonged. The beautiful Joseph is taken half dead by an ambulance to the Breach Candy Hospital. The news of the abominable conversion of Inaz spread like fire all over Bombay and traveled with the speed of light to other Indian cities. The Grand Emir of the Sudanese Muslim Brotherhood at the University of Bombay summoned his top leaders and conducted a quick emergency meeting. The meeting has one single agenda: what should we do to nip the problem in the bud? Since the serious issue became a police case, killing the apostate girl will not be a wise thing to do. The Emir suggested informing the girl's father in Khartoum and also contact the top diplomats at the Sudanese embassy in New Delhi and request them to take immediate action. He also decided to call for an emergency general meeting of the members of the Sudanese Students' Association. Lastly, he proposed to send 4 of the jihad lionesses to the despicable Sudanese girl and talk to her, and if chance permits, they should carry an Islamic wasba against her. In Islamic theology, wasba means jumping over sin and destroying it. In this case, the apostate, adulterous, despicable, and most hated Sudanese girl Inaz is the girl who committed the ultimate abominable sin in Islam. Many of them believe no Muslim woman had ever dared to do the evil deeds that despicable Sudanese girl Inaz has done. Therefore, a fatwa has been issued by the Muslim emir permitting the shedding of the blood of the apostate Sudanese girl Inaz Ahmed Silla. Any Muslim man or Muslima woman who kills the accursed apostate girl will be blessed by the exalted Allah and his infallible Prophet Muhammad in this life, and in the hereafter will be rewarded by paradise where there are rivers of wine, milk, honey, and the beautiful and eternal 72 virgins. When those Sudanese female terrorists who are called the Lionesses of Jihad went to attack the apostate girl, Inaz is living in the hostel of St. Xavier's College in the Churchgate area. The college allowed some female foreign students to occupy a section of its hostel. Her dormitory is containing a number of semi-private rooms for female residents, along with common bathroom facilities and recreation areas. Luckily, Inaz happened to be in a crowded cafeteria where there are many Indian girls having their meals. There are also a few foreign girls. So, at first, those policewomen of Allah have a brief talk with her. The brave Sudanese girl Inaz confirmed the words of her Christian lover and also did not deny her conversion from Islam to Christianity. The four lionesses of jihad declared her an infidel apostate girl and told her upon her return to Sudan she must be put to death, either through stoning or hanging. After uttering the life threat at the apostate girl, the righteous female police of Muhammad marched out of the hostel and left without harming the so-called accursed girl. Until that time, Inaz has no knowledge of the cowardly terrorist attack on her Christian lover Joseph. Again, it is Mary Akal who informed her about the vicious attack upon her Ethiopian lover. That Mary has two faces and acting as a double female agent. She is living with Inaz in the same dormitory. However, she rarely sleeps in her dorm. She is spending most of her nights in the bed of her Sudanese Muslim sex partner who lives in an apartment in the Kalina area. Her partner is not a religious person like her. He drinks alcohol, smokes marijuana, and very often goes to Ferris Road to have a good time with an Indian hooker. In fact, he considers Mary a free-of-charge prostitute or his female sex slave. One day spoke on her back and told his Sudanese friends he will never marry such an ugly black female slave who looks like a scary witch or a monstrous female zombie who rose from her grave. Upon hearing the disturbing news about the cowardly terrorist attack on her Ethiopian lover, Inaz at once rushed out of the dorm, waved a taxi, and told its driver to speed up and take her to the Breach Candy Hospital. Fortunately, that day, her beautiful Christian boyfriend Joseph had been beaten up by hands and not rods or swords. Many of those policemen of Allah are hiding deadly white weapons in their apartments. Whenever they go for religious wasba, they carry with them whips and knives. They conceal those tools of torture beneath their Islamic pajamas and turbans. Inaz cried so much after seeing how her lover was hammered by those demons of Allah. While she is crying, she is kneeling on her knees beside his bed. Through sobbing, she offered prayers and supplications to God. She petitioned her Lord to save the life of her Ethiopian lover Joseph Abraha. As a matter of fact, Inaz was not agreeing with her lover when he invited her to come to church. She told him they should not rush things. She suggested that first, she must travel to New Delhi and go to the UN office and apply for refugee status in India. Her reason for seeking refugee asylum, as a Muslim converted girl to Christianity, she will be executed as a female apostate if she returns to Sudan. If she becomes a refugee girl in India, then she can apply for resettlement in a Western country. Then and only then she can go to church and declare her conversion and then marry her Ethiopian Christian lover. Nonetheless, Joseph told her the refugee asylum is called political asylum. It can be granted only to politically persecuted citizens or displaced people like those Christians of southern Sudan. He believes an apostate girl from Islam like his Sudanese girlfriend may not qualify as a female refugee. He then assured her that the good Lord would always protect her from any harm or danger. He quoted to her many verses from the Holy Bible that full of promises the protection of the Lord to his faithful followers. Chapter 35. The Wedded Bride and Her Groom. The beautiful Ethiopian foreign student Joseph had spent a week before he was discharged from the hospital. While he was in the Breach Candy Hospital, he was guarded by 2 policemen. Meanwhile, an Indian Christian family invited his lovely Sudanese girlfriend Inaz to come and stay with them. The family knew the newly converted from Islam to Christianity Muslim girl's life is in danger, and therefore convinced her to leave the college dormitory and come and hide in their residence. Those kind Christians are originally from the south of India in the province of Kerala. They took that step without consulting or getting permission from the church leadership. Joseph is also advised by the same family not to return to that den of Muslim terrorist students, which euphemistically called the International Students' Hostel. Following their advice, he rented an apartment in the Bandra area. Inaz often frequents her visits to the apartment of her lover. It is the lovely Sudanese girlfriend who insisted that they should get married as soon as possible. Her handsome Ethiopian boyfriend Joseph Abraha became extremely happy when his beloved girlfriend Inaz Ahmed Silla, at last, acquiesced to his marriage betrothal. Their marriage took place shortly after Inaz gave her approval of the bold step. They went to the Bandar court, along with 3 witnesses from the church, and have an official court marriage. Each one of them received an official marriage certificate as proof of their court marriage. On the same evening, the church leadership, with the help of the good Christian family, conducted their Christian marriage too. Their religious wedding was celebrated in a beautiful hall. The good Christians treated Inaz as their own adopted daughter and generously and abundantly spent a lot of money on her wedding party. They are quite a wealthy family. After their marriage, the newly wedded couple traveled to Goa City and spent their honeymoon on the golden sandy beaches of that tourist city. One needs to write a good-sized book to describe the wonderful time the newly married lovers spent in that beautiful Indian coastal city. Suffice it to say, the lovely bride Inaz has enjoyed her honeymoon with her handsome groom Joseph 1,000,000 times better than the couple of weeks she had spent with her African lover Tariq in the same city. At that time, they were forced by the leader of the dreadful terrorist group of the Muslim Brotherhood to conduct that sham marriage of the so-called unmarriageable lovers. Moreover, this time no one had forced her to marry her lover, Joseph. For the first time, she had decided for herself and married the man she loves with all her being and who is ready to lay down his life in her defense. After their return, Inaz left the care and protection of the kind Christian family and began to live with her Ethiopian husband in his apartment in the Bandra area. They both trusted in God to protect them from those terrorist Sudanese students. The son of that loving Christian family is a very wealthy business tycoon. He is a married man. He has a tour and travel agency. He has many political friends. Moreover, he knows many top officials in police enforcement. The head of the Bombay Criminal Investigation Department is his close friend. He traveled many times to the Middle East. That is why he understood the fanatic mentality of the Muslims. When he heard about the conversion of the Sudanese girl, he anticipated a violent reaction from her Muslim family in Sudan and the Sudanese students in India. He approached the apostate girl Inaz and her Ethiopian boyfriend Joseph in the church and gave them his personal cell phone number and told them to contact him any time of the day if anyone tried to harm them. Therefore, when Joseph was attacked by those terrorist students, he invited Inaz to come and stay in his residence in the Kalina area. He also contacted his friend at the Bombay Criminal Investigation Department and informed him why the Ethiopian foreign student Joseph Abraha was attacked by those 5 Sudanese Muslim students. His friend told him, those 5 Sudanese Muslim terrorists who hid behind the name of foreign students will be severely punished by the law, and after that, they must be deported to Sudan, and their names will be blacklisted. They will not be allowed to complete their study at the University of Bombay, and they can never enter India again. Meanwhile, the newly wedded couple, Inaz and Joseph, returned to their medical college and resumed their study. They avoided going to any place where those Sudanese students may meet them and harm them. They never separated from each other, even for a short time. They did not inform anyone where they were living. The building they are living in has security guards around the clock. No outsider can enter the building without obtaining permission from one of the tenants. So, Joseph and Inaz are well protected inside their apartment. Their fears will arise in their hearts as soon as they step outside the building. They scared that some of those angry Sudanese students may attack them in broad daylight and harm them. Joseph's body is still retaining the scars of the cruel beatings by those Muslim terrorist students. Even so, he always keeps encouraging his wife Inaz and assuring her that he will never allow any Sudanese boy or girl to touch her. He said to her time and again that they can reach her only if they kill him first and then jump over his dead body. Also, Joseph assured Inaz he will not allow even her own father to harm her if he tries to slay her in another honor killing. Notwithstanding, the second attack on the newly wedded couple came from the last group of people they could ever have anticipated to attack them. Yes, it is planned and carried out by the Indian Anti-Terrorism Police of the Bombay Criminal Investigation Department. It is 8:30 p.m. when their apartment is raided by 10 police officers, 6 males and 4 females. The two lovers Inaz and Joseph have been slapped, beaten, kicked by heavy boots, tied with long ropes, and taken under custody in an undignified manner. The tenants and other bystanders are told by the police. The two foreign students Joseph and Inaz have been arrested because they are involved in drug trafficking activities between Bombay City, Pune City, Goa City, and many other Arab and Western cities. Chapter 36. The Second Terrorist Plot. The second plot of the Sudanese terrorist students is to kidnap the newly married apostate Sudanese girl Inaz Ahmed Salah and fly her in a direct flight from Bombay to Khartoum on the same night. All of them know India is a secular country and they cannot kill her while she is out of a Muslim country. Apostasy is a crime of treason under Sharia law and deserves capital punishment. They know when the apostate Inaz reaches Sudan, she will be arrested under the charge of apostasy and put to death. Such an evil scheme was hatched inside the Sudanese embassy in New Delhi. It was planned and executed by the same people who were supposed to ensure her safety while she is living abroad. In order to carry out that wicked plot, the embassy sent two of its legal representatives. Those lawbreakers arrived in Bombay under full secrecy. No one among the 1,400 Sudanese Muslim students knew about them except the Grand Emir of the Muslim Brotherhood. In actual fact, he was the one who flew to the capital of India and reported the abominable act of the Sudanese apostate girl Inaz Ahmed Salah to the ambassador personally. The ambassador himself is an active member of that dreadful Muslim Brotherhood terrorist group. Actually, even the former president of Sudan was the key ringleader of that evil group. Let us say a word or two about the ex-president of Sudan. The leader of that notorious terrorist group of the Muslim Brothers and Sisters, Omar al-Bashir, was the president of Sudan for 30 years. He is a Sudanese former military officer, politician, leader of the Muslim Brotherhood, and war criminal who served as the 7th president of Sudan under various titles from 1989 to 2019. When he was deposed through coup d'état, he was subsequently incarcerated, tried, and convicted on multiple corruption charges. He was indicted by the International Criminal Court, ICC, at Hague for crimes against humanity, war crimes, and genocide. An arrest warrant for President Omar al-Bashir was issued on March 4, 2009, by the ICC indicting him on 5 serious charges of crimes against humanity, murder, extermination, forcible transfer, torture, and rape, and 2 charges of war crimes, pillaging, and intentionally directing attacks against civilians. A second arrest warrant for President al-Bashir was later issued on July 12, 2010, by the ICC adding 3 counts of genocide for the ethnic cleansing of the Fur, Masalit, and Zaghawa tribes of the Darfur region of Western Sudan. So, that wicked emir of the Muslim Brotherhood of the Sudanese students at Bombay University returned from his secret trip to New Delhi with those terror-inspiring 2 Sudanese diplomats. They're staying in an expensive hotel in the Colaba area. By the way, Colaba is called the sex paradise of the Arabs. Arabs come in thousands every year to feast on the bodies of the Indian prostitutes. For those lustful Arab men, the Indian prostitutes are the cheapest hookers in the world. In Colaba, sometimes, you can see an Arab man with as many as 6 Indian prostitutes in a hotel room. Many times, whenever the Bombay police decide to crack down on prostitution, the front page of the newspapers will feature a story of an Arab man caught with half a dozen prostitutes in his hotel room. So, those 2 Sudanese diplomats, besides the execution of their evil plot against the so-called despicable and apostate Muslim girl Inaz, want to indulge themselves in that cheap sex with the Indian prostitutes. Through the grand terrorist student leader of the Muslim Brotherhood, they were connected to some corrupt Muslim police officers working in the anti-terrorist department of Bombay. Through bribery, those lawless police officers agreed to carry out the plot of kidnapping this Sudanese Muslim apostate girl. In addition to them, through the same illegal means, the 2 Sudanese diplomats found other Muslim police officers employed in the narcotics enforcement of the Bombay Criminal Investigation Department. The first step on that evil plot was to locate the hiding place of the disgraceful Sudanese girl who dared to forsake Islam and embrace Christianity and married an infidel Christian student from Ethiopia. Every Sudanese student in Bombay knows in which medical college the infamous Inaz is studying. So, two of those Muslim police officers in civilian clothes went with the Emir and hid near her medical college. After that, it was child play to discover her hiding place. The wicked Emir pointed his finger from a safe distance and identified the despicable apostate Sudanese girl and her uncircumcised infidel dog who dared to marry and fuck a circumcised pussy of a Muslim girl. The handsome Joseph, who used to be called the white beautiful Indian peacock, is now renamed as a filthy uncircumcised infidel Christian dog and an unclean Ethiopian pig. Although she could not hear him, the Emir called the ignominious Sudanese girl every filthy word he knew when he saw her walking hand in hand with her infidel Ethiopian husband. He called her a whore witch, a dirty bitch, a filthy infidel Sudanese girl, and the despicable apostate Muslim girl. After the hiding place of the apostate Sudanese girl Inaz Ahmed Sulla was known, the two diplomats booked her air ticket via a direct flight from Bombay to Khartoum. Her flight was scheduled for 10:30 p.m. They brought with them an emergency traveling document bearing the name of Inaz Ahmed Sulla. It was issued by the Sudanese embassy. The final step in that carefully planned plot was to send some police officers to the apartment of Inaz and Joseph and arrest them under the serious false charges of involvement in drug trafficking activities between India and some Arab and European countries. Joseph was to be sent to the Arthur Road jail while Inaz was to be transferred by the same police officers to Bombay International Airport, and on the same night, she asked to be deported back to Sudan. Upon her arrival in Khartoum, she will be arrested under the serious charge of apostasy and sent to one of the ghost houses. The notorious Muslim Brotherhood government was the first Sudanese regime to introduce the Bayat al-Ashba, which means the torture ghosts' houses. Anyone entering a ghost house will meet two fates. He will either be tortured to death or emerge a madman or a madwoman. If he managed to survive the harsh interrogation method of the police officers, he will be locked up indefinitely without trial or right of visitation by his family. He will be cast into a deep, dark dungeon and can never, ever see the sunlight again. His dungeon will be his toilet and his grave. A Sudanese girl may prefer a life of prostitution or death by starvation on the streets, rather than a stint at the ghost house. If a girl somehow managed to survive the torture and rape inside those stinking slaughter chambers, she would come out with a baby. A daughter of a well-known family in Khartoum entered those death concentration camps as a virgin and came out with two illegitimate babies. She had been raped by over 30 top police officers and many prison guards while she was in her solitary confinement. The evil plot worked perfectly well. The Sudanese passport of Inaz was found in her apartment and taken by the police of Bombay. The Indian police were told by the two diplomats of the Sudanese embassy if they could not find her passport, then they should use instead of it the emergency document issued by the ambassador to send her back to her country. Then, the arrested and securely tied by rope Sudanese girl Inaz Ahmed Sulla was forcibly transferred in an unmarked police car to the Bombay International Airport. Her kidnappers are 6 Indian police officers and 4 policewomen. All are Muslims. Meanwhile, her Ethiopian husband Joseph Abraha was taken in another police car and thrown inside a dark dungeon at the Arthur Road men's prison. He was beaten to death by the police interrogators before his lifeless body was dumped inside a rotten and crowded dungeon full of Indian crooks and dangerous gangsters. He was forced to admit many false charges of drug smuggling that laid on him. It is not a rare occurrence at the international airport every now and then to see a foreign student being dragged by the Bombay police and chained to his seat in a plane and sent back to his country. Most of those foreign students who were deported before were Nigerians involved in drug trafficking. Likewise, those foreign students who tested positive for AIDS were kicked out of India too and sent to their countries. Maybe today, if a foreign student is diagnosed with coronavirus, he will be extradited to his country too. So, even if Inaz resisted, screamed, and told other police officers of the airport and passengers that she has been kidnapped from her apartment and they are taking her to her country against her wish, she will not find anyone to free her from the policewomen who brought her in chains. Also, if she told her problem and what is going to happen to her in Sudan, no one will come to her rescue. Inaz knew and understood that she has fallen a victim to a well-planned wicked plot. Accordingly, she gave up her fruitless efforts of resistance and surrendered her fate to her maker. She said a silent prayer while her tears were falling on her cheeks like hot acid. What is troubling her more is her painful and final separation from the loving man she married and loves with all her being, and every tissue of her body is going to miss him until her cruel murder. She knows she is going to be arrested, tried by the Sharia court, and condemned with apostasy and put to death after 3 days. It is said that only when the human being loses all hope in life that divine rescue can come. That is exactly what happened in those critical moments. After Anaz gave up all hope, then God sent his rescuing angel. It so happened that the Indian wealthy business tycoon, who is the son of that good Christian family, is going to fly to Muscat City, the capital of Oman, at the same time in another plane. His name is Vijay and his wife's name is Mary. It is Mary who spotted Anaz surrounded by some Indian police officers. By the way, the terrorist leader of the Muslim Brotherhood, who is known as the Emir, and those 2 evil Sudanese diplomats came to the Bombay International Airport. The wicked Emir talked to Anaz in Arabic and cursed her unceasingly. He even took many photos of her with those lawless Muslim police officers and policewomen. He wants to show those pictures to his Muslim terrorist brothers and sisters on the following day. The good Indian wife, Mary, immediately informed her husband Vijay about her unpleasant discovery. Vijay at once cancelled his trip and contacted the head of the Criminal Investigation Department. He informed him that the Sudanese apostate Muslim girl Anaz is placed under arrest by some Indian policemen and policewomen, and most probably they are planning to deport her to her country against her wish.